So. Oh. 50 countries, 200 languages, 750 million people, 100,000 castles, 3,000 beaches, and hundreds of different cultures. I am talking of Europe, people. The place I am happy to recommend more than anywhere else I have ever been to at this point. It has something for everyone. It has amazing food, amazing people, stunning locations. The only thing it doesn't have is a desert. But if you're willing to compromise on the desert, it has everything else. It is, yes, as I said, Europe. So welcome back to the channel. All the other videos have been about our van, how we converted it, how we got to this point, and now we are going to be going into Europe. So before we do that, I want to make sure everyone's aware why we love Europe so much and why you should come and join us. This video will be about that. First off, we're going to go into the Schengen visas, different visas that there are, limitations to how long you can be in Europe, the average costs of being in Europe, the safety side of it. This is a big one for most people, most solo travelers. The social side of being in a van in Europe. We're going to be going into what our experiences are so far. We've definitely had a few places which have been more prominent with van lifers than others. Italy, where we are right now, not amazing for the old van life scene, but we'll go into which ones are. Things to avoid in Europe, there are only a few, and that will be a brief one. This entire video is going to be pretty brief. I'm going to be trying to go into the bullet points as much as as quick as I possibly can be, so don't worry, I'm not going to diddle daddle. And last but not least, why you should come to Europe and why you should be doing van life in Europe compared to other places. That one, well, that's not exactly hard considering Europe is just that good. It's amazing, yeah. But yeah, as you can see, I thought I'd choose quite a nice location. I am not being very clever right now. There is a huge drop behind me. And I have no railings, nothing. If only my mum could see me now. All right, so first off, we'll start with the Schengen zone. Time, how long can you be here? So in Europe, if you're from Britain, the good old UK, you only get 3 months here and 3 months out. So you can spend 3 months in Europe, but then it does require that you leave for 3 months. It doesn't matter where, as long as it's not in the Schengen zone. Schengen zone, it isn't actually every country. There are a few out of there. If you're going to class the EU, there's actually some like Norway, Sweden, these aren't in the EU, but they are in the Schengen zone. Unfortunately, they've been pretty thorough in which countries they have claimed into the Schengen zone. So it does leave a very little choice of how you get around. And because of Brexit, we are kicked out of the Europe. Oh my God, we are kicked out of Europe. But you do have hope. You can get visas. There are several visas. Unfortunately, they all do suit the wealthy more than the poor. Funny that. One of them is the digital nomad visa. If you're going to work online and you can prove you earn over, I'll put it there, if you earn over that a month and you've got consistent records showing it, you can get the digital nomad visa. This is a very, very good way of being in Europe, and you can just bounce between the countries. There are other ways, such as buying property. You need over £250,000, I believe, worth of property. That varies for every country. That's just for Italy right now. That's what we're trying to do. It's impossible. We do not have £250,000. But there are other countries that have much cheaper limits to get in. But it's worth looking up the current state of every country and their limitations to get your visa. Not great on the old limitations, but if 3 months is quite a long time, but when you live in your van, it's not. We like to have days where we relax, but with the Schengen visa in place, it removes that calm feeling, it really sucks because you just want to be able to relax and not feel guilty about relaxing for the day. With that visa, yeah, you're like, make the most out of every day, which I guess is an upside to some. But I'm a relaxed kind of guy, man. I'm relaxed. I like my time to do nothing. But that is the current state for moi, a UK citizen. Yeah, not the best. The Schengen zone, I have spoken about this before, but the Schengen zone calculator will be in the description of this video. It's pretty hard to find. You probably wouldn't be able to find it. It took us about 3 days to find. So I'll leave that in the description. That kind of works out exactly how many days you can have, because it is not actually as simple as if you're in for 2 months, you then leave, you get 1 extra month. It's not, it's less. They're sneaky, they'll get you. So if you go into Europe for 2 months, you then leave, you probably only get about 2.5, 3 weeks. The calculator basically breaks it down for you. But do not think you have 3 months no matter what over that 6-month period. Nah. You'll be told off. In some cases, you can be kicked out of Europe permanently if you overstay. One of our friends actually got kicked out for 30 years because he basically was partying Ibiza for a little bit too long. 30 years out of Europe. The hell? Try and get this moving. Anyway, now on to costs. Our experience, which is pretty good, I think. Our experience in Europe has been that it's actually really cheap. We've been to Asia a lot, and it's far cheaper to travel around in a van than it is to be in Asia, doing hostels, all that jazz. It's far, far cheaper to be in a van in Europe than do that. The reasons being are that you can cook food yourself. You're living in your van, there's no additional costs there. If you're living in a car park, that's not an additional cost, that's free. When you are backpacking and you're having to stay in accommodation every night, you'd be amazed how much that racks up. Sleeping in your van, using Park for Night is free, obviously. You just need to be very careful where you're gonna choose to sleep. Don't be reckless with it. Try to arrive in the day. Try to figure out your surroundings, see if the area is rough, see if it's poor. Check if it's really wealthy, that can be just as bad. You can get kicked out pretty easily if it's a really wealthy area. Try to go somewhere in the middle, and if you arrive in the daytime, that's perfect. Food, if you're from Europe or you're from the UK or America, you will be very comfortable with all the food in the supermarkets. This means that you can then cook everything yourself. For example, we've said it before, people don't quite believe how cheap we lived in Europe for. There's a video which basically says that we lived off £25 each a week. It was actually £30 to £35 together for the week. That's how cheap Europe can be. So don't buy a house, don't put yourself in debt, live in a van in Europe, man. Come join us. So food, cooking your food in your van, you're talking about £20 to £30 a week if you're being quite mindful. Water is free. There's pickup points everywhere around Europe. Just need to make sure you've got a water tank that you can plug it in and you can get water. They are so far away, can you hear that? So yeah, water's free. You just need to make sure you've got a water tank and the right connections, and then boom, free water. Electricity, if you're in your van, it's free. If you have a switch relay and you have some solar panels, free electricity permanently. What's all these extra noises? visas. So when you're going into Europe, you don't need to pay up for any visas. It's not like Asia where you have to go from one country to the other and you have to buy the visas for set countries, or if you're going to overstay, you can extend. In Europe, or the Schengen zone, it has its upsides and its downsides. It means that you can just go through border to border to border and you never get checked. Even going from like into Andorra, they didn't really check us, which is out of the Schengen zone, even though it's in Europe. Very expensive though, don't go there. It's beautiful, if you don't mind that. It's stunning, it's just very expensive. Visas, that's not really on there. I would then mention about campsites. So if you are gonna be going into a campsite, you're gonna buckle, you're gonna take the knee, and fall to the campsite gods of the evil gods. You have been knighted. I've had too much coffee. Yeah, the campsites. So the campsites are probably going to be one of your biggest expenditures. You obviously have, if you're living in your van, you do have insurances, road tax, all that jazz. Ours is very low. It works out £700 a year. If you're younger, it would be more expensive, but you're going to be paying this anyway. No matter where you go, there's always going to be kind of transport costs. So I don't really like to include transport costs because it's just one of the same. So insurance, tax, these things are kind of going to be the equivalent of, say, in Asia getting tuk-tuks, taxis. You just can't escape the transport situation. But with the campsites, on average, the campsites do vary between about £15 and £30 a night. You can get way more expensive the nicer you go. But I would say just look on Park for Night. The app is just incredible. You can't really go wrong with it. I would say it's worth looking around on the Park for Night app. You do have lots of different choices of free parking and campsites. It does give you a really good understanding of which areas cost X amount. But we stayed in a castle on these castle grounds. It was absolutely stunning for like £10 a night, and I would live there if I could have. It was stunning. So it's worth looking around. It can actually be quite cheap. It's just more of, if you're traveling and you're on a budget and you want to kind of make your money go as far as you can, staying in a campsite isn't feasible. If you're in campsites day in, day out, it costs you so much money. If you do have an online job and you can counter the campsite fees, it's fair enough, but you'd have to be earning a fair amount. Or if you're earning a minimum amount, on working online, that does mean you can basically stay in Europe permanently. If you wanted to try and dodge the Schengen zone issues, you can go into like Bosnia, Montenegro. There's like a few other countries around that area that you can go into them, and they are apparently really nice for van life. I haven't been there, so I'm not going to say it, but that's a way of getting out of the Schengen zone. So that's the kind of the campsites. The campsites, yeah, it's where we've spent most of our money in the past. The only reason we've ever stayed in campsites is because it got to 45 degrees and we had to buy an air conditioner. It felt so crap to do it. We're a couple that really do like to live on a budget. I wonder if I should be showing you the sunset right now. It's stunning. If you do work online, but you don't earn enough money to live in campsites, often you should be able to then stay in Europe permanently, living off, if you can earn £100 a week, that's it. You're good in Europe. You should never need to spend more than that. When it comes to fuel, so the fuel in Europe is, if you're comparing it to America, it's very expensive, but on average, it's pretty affordable. So you just slow down. How far you're going to be going every day, you just take it back a little bit. We don't think the fuel's an issue, and we have a pretty big van. It all depends on really how far you want to be going. So that's the average costs. But if you do want to work online, there are lots of ways of doing this. Again, that's why I say Europe is just so good for being here. If you have an online job in the UK, Europe is a really good option for working online because the time differences are so small. You can always get Wi-Fi wherever you go. The SIMs are easy to get. You can get a lot of data pretty cheap. So working online is really doable. But if you want to find an online job, my partner's kind of the guru for that. So if you want to message her on Instagram, she can give you advice with different types of online jobs and possibly introduce you to what she does as well. It's worth a look if you want to work online. It does mean that the traveling is made way nicer when you know that your money bank isn't going down. If you can kind of keep it static or even going back up, that's a lovely thing to know when you're traveling. She does earn a lot more than what we need to travel permanently, hence me just making videos like this all the time. This is what I do with my passing time. I just make van life videos. The next thing, we're going to be going into safety and the social side of van life, you know? Meeting some people, getting some groovy, but I think we should change the location, yeah? It's beautiful. It's a very nice location, but let's spice it up a little. Any better? Is this better? Is it better? I can't really tell. Safety and social. So when it comes to being in Europe, I think it's quite obvious that it can be one of the safest places you could ever travel. As a solo van lifer, I have not done that before. I have always traveled with Lou. We have always lived in a van together. I don't want to put my opinion across on what it's like to live by yourself in a van, just simply because I've never had that experience. I can tell you though, what it's like to just be living in a van in Europe. We have been traveling around Europe for a very long time in a camper van with multiple different ones. I have grown up coming into Europe in camper vans. I have done Australia, but I have not done America. These are going to be the common ones for living in a camper van. I have not done America, I will say that. Living in your van in Europe, the people on average are lovely. They're so welcoming. I do see a lot of people doing van life in England and never leaving England. I was a little bit curious to why. I still actually haven't figured out why. Just because of this reason, me and my partner, we're going to be spending a few months going around Europe. Stick around, we're going to be going through as many countries as we can. I hope you enjoy that, but we are going to be testing England. I haven't been able to figure out why people are doing van life in England and never going into Europe. From our experience, living in a van in Europe is way more accepted than the UK. There are areas going through France. These are areas where you can live in your van, you can empty your toilet there, you can fill up your water there. They have designated areas where you can cook. This is in going throughout France. This does not exist in the UK. It's going to be an interesting kind of experience doing it around the UK and seeing what people's opinions are of doing it in England. And it's going to be an interesting experience going through England and trying to live in a van and seeing how often we get moved. I can give you a total for all the years we've been traveling around Europe. I can give you on one hand how many times we've been moved on. Do it. We've been moved on twice, but even then they didn't move us on because we were parked in the wrong location. They moved us on because they thought we were parked somewhere unsafe. That's it. That's it. So, I don't know, I feel like Europe, you can't really go wrong. That's pretty remarkable. Like, the police here have always been super friendly. There's only one really big thing I would say when it comes to the safety side of it. You will never have an issue in your van as long as you do one rule: avoid cities. As long as you avoid a city, you will never have a problem. All the crime, all the issues, they all center around cities, and especially on the outskirts. If you try to camp on the outskirts of the city, it's way more risky than being in the center or miles away. We've only had one bad experience, and it was in this exact situation, and it was outside Marseille in France. That place is horrible. I'm sorry if anyone likes it there. It's horrible. Don't like it. Don't like it. Not for me. It might be for some people. It's not for me or Lou. I found that a really, really rough place. We were driving down this road and every side road had been blocked off by burnt out cars and rubbish. And actually, this sounds like a joke, but it's not. A tyre mound, a burning tyre mound was just casually down a road. We went in, we're like, what the bloody hell is happening? So we got out there literally like 80 mile an hour, we maxed the van out. So yeah, don't go to Marseille. And basically what happened is that we parked about 10 miles outside Marseille, and someone kept going past us throughout the day. And Lou doesn't do this, but Lou woke up and checked out the window, and she was like, I can't believe it. That guy's come past again. And he was literally crawling past the parking area, and he indicated just for a second, then turned his indicator off. He parked about 20 meters past the turning where we were parked. This is in the middle of nowhere, by the way. It was down a really nice looking area. And then I jumped out. I prepared to be attacked. Let's just say that. And I was like, wait, what's happening? I can drive. So I jumped in the driver's seat, and we got out of there instantly. And he was literally in a big puffy jacket that he didn't have on before. And he had his hands in his pockets. He was basically trying to hide in the bush just before the where we were parked. So that's a real shame. But the problem there was quite a big thing to point out. Don't have stuff on the outside of your van. This wasn't the Sprinter we've got now. This was the Citroen Berlingo, and we had a lot of stuff on top of the van. This meant that it was a big target. There was lots of stuff all strapped onto the roof rack. And to be fair, I don't blame people who were in the position where they need lots of money for targeting it. It looked like the perfect thing to target. You just one little knife, you could take everything off in seconds. So this is something as well I would recommend. Do not put something or too much outside of your van. Try to keep it really, really basic and minimal on the outside. This just kind of removes the chances of people wanting to try something. But yeah, avoid cities, especially the outskirts, and don't put things on the outside. That's kind of the safety side of it. That's as far as it goes. Actually, always make sure you can get access to your driving seat pretty much instantly. If you have to kind of pack things away or remove stuff off your driver's seat to get driving, that is just a bad system. Hence the cut through on our loot and box van. And then the social side of it. So, the social side of it, it can be, in Europe, trickier than other areas. Should I say that? So in Europe, you do have areas like Portugal, you've got a lot of parts of France, you have Switzerland. These are all really, really busy areas for van life. In Switzerland especially, we've never had an issue meeting people. We park up one area and you'll just have loads of other vans pull up and then you can have a chat. We had the same thing in north of Italy, but in the south of Italy, where we are right now, it's absolutely stunning, but there's no one here. Where is everyone? This is madness. This place is very pretty. Where are you? It's absolutely gorgeous, yet there is no young people here. You do get a few older fellows. You do get a few of the wiser lot, people a bit older. This video is really not for you guys. You know this stuff. This is for people who are just about to start going to their van life experience and haven't done years of it. So, yeah. Remember that. There are a few older people here, and they're here because they know about it. This is, like, Italy's stunning, but the social side is definitely limited, which is a shame. Like, lots of these Americans, if you search van life in Europe, they'll complain about the social side. They will just basically say there's no one here. But you do have to know where to go, and Portugal was probably the #1 spot, and unfortunately, I've never been there. I haven't been there, but we're going to be there in a few months, So I'm really excited to get to Portugal. I think the social side is going to be amazing. God, Ray's looking incredible over there. Sorry, I'm just doing like a 360 pan view at this point. Oh, blimey. Damn, son. So yeah, the social side, if you want to travel around in your van, by the nature of it as well, you aren't going to be meeting as many people as you are, say, if you're backpacking and living in a hostel in Asia. They're just very different things. But I personally do think the longevity of living in a van is just far superior than backpacking. I've done backpacking for about 7 years. It has its limitations, as everything does. But living in a van, it's way more special when you meet someone for that reason. You meet another couple in a random hillside in their van. It just feels right, you know? It feels unique, it feels special. You meet people in hostels, there's the turnover of like people coming in and out. It is a bit harder to build that kind of unique connection. Upsides and downsides, you know, swings and roundabouts. You have to be willing to take a bit of a loss on the social side compared to everything else you get from living in a van. And even then, you can find it. It's just that instead of meeting new people every day of the week, like backpacking, it's going to be once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. That's the difference. If you're aiming for popular areas, you'll be seeing them every other day, but we don't. We're just living in Milazzo, Sicily and Italy. Stunning location, no tourists. Because I actually don't know why. I don't know why no one's here. It's such a beautiful area, but there's no one here. Okay, I'm probably looking like I'm trying to be Spider-Man right now, if you saw my pose, so I'm just gonna get off this. The last one, and the big one, is why you should come to Europe. It's obviously been touched on a little bit so far, but I think we move up the area again, you know? Stunning, right? Absolutely stunning. Couple looking at me. Oh, man. Just get into Europe, people. But yeah, okay. Upsides and reasons, dead end. You should be coming to Europe. Let's get into this. Stunning. Beautiful place, beautiful castle. Imagine having that castle on your doorstep. God damn. Look at those little arrow slots. I wouldn't want to be the first line here. That's the first line to the castle. You'd be firing arrows out of that. So why Europe compared to other continents, Australia, America? Why choose Europe? I will try to do this as condensed as I possibly can. I'm going to get a little bit passionate about it. I've got it all written down just because I spent about an hour writing it. It's a lovely day today. It's actually a lot hotter than yesterday. Okay, let's get into it. So you have driving through the Alps. That's one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had in my life. That felt like driving through Lord of the Rings. I was there, it was ridiculous. You have the coasts of the Mediterranean. The coasts of the Med are so unique. Their cliff sides and the way they're laid out, we sailed around them, so we'd know. They are just absolutely stunning, and really, it's hard to explain exactly what it is, but it's like culture mixed with coziness, mixed with unique landscapes, the way they build on the side of the hills, which just drop straight into the sea. I'm not going to sell it right, but it's more of a trust me, bro. Trust me. It's sick. And then you've got also the Scandinavian fjords. They're up north in, like, obviously Scandinavia. Scandinavia is absolutely stunning. It is very different to the rest of Europe, so please do not think it's all one of the same. You go through Europe and you're crossing boundaries in very, very short distances. This is one of the upsides to going in Europe compared to other continents, is that it's all very condensed. It may sound like that's a negative, but it's all so different. You go a few hundred miles and the culture, the landscape, everything's changed. You do not need to travel far, so this is a massive upside for the fuel. Instead of having to drive like 1,000 miles like we did in Australia to get any sort of difference in landscape, you do a couple hundred miles in Europe, you're going to get vast, vast differences. This does not just change with the landscape, this also changes with the people. The people are so different in the way they treat you, be it good or worse. This also affects the pricing of stuff, so you can travel 100 miles and get much cheaper prices. Even in Italy alone, the East Coast compared to the West Coast is far cheaper than the West Coast, and that's just a few hundred miles. This does correlate to all of Europe. If you're not enjoying, say, a culture or the people in a country, you can just travel a few hours and you'll get a completely different experience. This is a big selling part for me. As we do travel around in our big old Luton box van over there, it is very expensive on fuel, but it means that we don't want to travel around a lot. I am not a fan of moving of long distances in a very short duration of time. I like to move slowly and get to experience that country as much as I possibly can, be it from town to town to town. Something we like to do is turn the motorways off on our maps, so then we get a really good understanding of what the countryside's like. If you go onto a motorway, everywhere may as well be the same. But that also does lead on to the charming villages throughout Europe. The European villages are epic. The European villages are so warming, they're so charming. It really is lovely. I have never been anywhere in the world which has the same vibe as what European villages do. They feel old, they just feel so rich with culture. And these villages do not feel like they have lost themselves in the modernization of the world. You see these old, you'll see an old person sitting in their porch, kind of looking like they've been taken out of a picture from like 1910. I know I'm probably, that might just be a young person's point of view, but it's lovely to see. And they still have that mentality of everyone in the town knows each other and they all respect each other. If something's happening and like you're coming along, you're new, no one really knows you, they will kind of make a fuss out of you and you'll get treated to like loads of random experiences just because you're new to the town. It's such a special experience. I just push people to go to these little towns, these little villages that no one has really heard about. They are the special ones. Also in Europe, this is a big upside for people living in a van. The camping infrastructure is very well established. Like I said before, the areas. the areas means that you can kind of camp anywhere and fill up your water and empty your toilets. This is not to be underestimated. Going throughout Australia, there was nowhere. There was nowhere you could just easily park your van. I said we got moved twice in our entire time around Europe. In Australia, we got moved about 10 times, and in like a month. And they were just like, even though we were in the middle of nowhere, causing no problem with anyone, we were just in a little lay-by, hidden away. There was basically like these guards who went around just moving on campers, even though you were in the middle of nowhere. There might be a reason for it, but it wasn't obvious to us. In Australia, they will just move you on because there is barely anywhere you can legally park or empty your toilet or fill up water. It was very hard. Here, it's everywhere. There is facilities for filling up your water, emptying your toilet everywhere. Camping, cooking, it's everywhere. Obviously, you do have the countries where they don't allow wild camping. This is why a camper van, which is fully kitted out, is so helpful. But there are countries that do have the camping. I've been reading up on America right now with its wild camping rules. Unlike North America, where strict camping rules exist in many places, Europe often has overnight designated parking areas for camper vans. Maybe, again, that's an upside over America. I don't really know. I'm just reading what the internet's telling me. And they're also saying that camping in America can be quite expensive. Maybe leave it in the comments down below what your experiences are in America, just so then people can reference to that, because I am not an expert in it. I have no knowledge at all, in fact. Leave in the comments below your experiences for America. They're saying that, yeah, the camping can be quite expensive. And in Europe, I would say it's quite expensive. 15 to 25 to 30 pounds a night, I think it's really expensive. Hence, we live in here, by the way. We're in Lidl. There's a video about it, but we've been living in Lidl whilst we restore our sailboat. Anyway, now on to the history and the culture, which I've been pointing at before. It's so rich in Europe. That's why I mentioned about the castles. You'll go into a little town and it will have its own fort. And this little town will go back like hundreds, if not thousands of years in history. That you do not get this barely anywhere else in the world. It's so consistently amazing with its history. Lots of things that you utilize on a daily basis have originally come from Europe. And you'll go into a little town and it will say it was from there. And you get like a little history background, you can go on a little tour. And it's usually free, by the way. These tours usually don't charge. It's not like Asia where they charge for everything. Yeah, so you can park your night in ancient castles, medieval villages, or Roman ruins. Come on, is that enough, guys? Guys, is that enough? That should be enough to bring you here, right? You can park in Roman ruins overnight. We've actually done it before, but this was before we started filming. Each country has its own district, culture, language, and traditions. This is something which we have actually really enjoyed about Italy. The way they eat together, the way they socialize together, their traditions are usually based around food, and I love it for that reason. And Lou loves it even more so. Even though she can barely eat anything, she just loves the experience, the fact that they all get together. And the way they eat, it's like a buffet, but it's not. They're just ordering so much food. The point is that you're supposed to stuff yourself and have some digestivo, some like alcohol, which is like washes it through at the end, and it's just like this lovely experience they share together. It's just a mentality they have, which doesn't just correlate to eating food. This spreads out to everything else they do in their life. Going to the beach, they'll get as many people as they can, go to the beach, have a lovely relaxing day together, have a few drinks, have some, I've forgotten their ice cream. Oh no, I've forgotten their ice cream name. But yeah, the cultures and traditions is a big one for us. It's why we're so excited to just keep moving throughout Europe and keep experiencing new countries, because it feels so different because of the people. It's hinting at here there's more friendly van life laws than the US for Europe, but I'm not too sure about that. Again, leave that in the comments below, any issues or plus sides that you've had living, doing van life in America compared to Europe. I'm not gonna trust the internet completely on that. Hinting at foods again, the food in Europe, it's so good. It literally, it's like heaven for your senses. Italy food is the best we've had so far, and I think that shouldn't be a surprise for anyone. Italia, okay? Oh my God, I've even forgotten where pizza came from. It's near Pompeii. Oh, mamma mia. The food throughout Europe, no matter where you go, is just always good. It's always good. They always have their own like local food or local traditional foods. And if you can find what that is and have that, every time you'll be blown away. This is definitely an upside for Europe compared to every other continent we've ever been. I've been to America. I haven't done van life in America, but I've been to America a lot. And oh man, the American food is just, sorry, guys, from America, I'm sorry, but your food ain't it. I'm sorry, but it just felt way too bulked out, and it just feels heavy. But it's here, it's pure taste, and it feels light. English food, I'm gonna join you here. I'm not gonna just diss your country. English food is terrible, it's terrible. But everywhere else in Europe so far has been really good. So yeah, I'm not listening to you too much. And Australian food as well, it's English food, isn't it? Oh, I'm gonna annoy a few people there, but yeah. I mean, they have that Tin Tam Slam, that's it. I actually quite like that, to be fair, but yeah, that's it. And I would say a big one is the climate. So in Europe, if you're struggling with the climate being too hot or too cold, you can literally move a few hundred miles and it will change drastically, just like the cultures, just like the traditions. The climate, the temperature, it shifts. And in Italy right now, this is too much. I'm wearing the shorts because it's just about right, but it's hot. And we're in, what month is it? Oh my God, I forgot the month. It's in March. We're in March the 19th. So you'll be watching it the same day I've posted it. I'm editing right now. It's March the 19th and it's boiling. It's lovely, lovely weather. Yeah, if you wanted to get a little bit colder, you could go a bit more north and yeah, you just find colder weather. Italy doesn't ever really get cold. So if you wanted to kind of stay away from that really cold experience, there's always a warmer country. I'm pretty sure like Portugal and the south of Spain is really quite nice and warm right now as well. So climate is a massive upside. You obviously have the colder areas like Scandinavia. This I've heard only amazing things about. We haven't really been around Scandinavia that lot. So that's going to be exciting to see as well. You'll basically get to experience a lot of new countries with us. So just for anyone who's wondering, we're going to be uploading hopefully twice a week coming quite soon. We had a work trip recently, so it's distracted us a little bit, hence missing last week. But yeah, we're going to be going into Europe and we're going to be posting as much as we possibly can. You young lot who want to go backpacking, you want to go and travel somewhere, if you have a van or if you can afford to get a van and kit it out really basically, get into Europe. You can make your money go so far. You just need to be a little bit more mindful. Don't stay in campsites. Be streetwise and you're having an amazing, amazing time. Get out into Europe, just travel it. There's so much to see. I don't think you could ever see it in a lifetime, personally. But that's about it.